Hi, it's Miss Becky with the Madison Library. We're here today with Grandpa Bob telling one more Ducky Daddle story. You know, Ducky Daddle is growing up and he even gets invited to a dance. I can't wait for you to hear all about it. You're gonna love this story.
Hi, this is Grandpa Bob again with another Ducky Daddle story. But first, I wanted to introduce you to my 7 grandchildren, the ones who mainly heard these stories first. And here they are. There's 7 of them. And as you can see, perhaps, they're at varying ages. These 2 here, that's Matt and Chrissy. They're the first, they're brother and sister, and they're the first ones that heard the stories about Ducky Daddle. Then came Megan and Kate, right here in the middle. Megan and Kate are Miss Becky's daughters, and they're the next ones who heard about Ducky Daddle. And then Alina and Thomas came along, and they're Andy's, my son Andy's children, and they heard about Ducky Daddle next. The 7th one is Tiffany, and Tiffany came along a little bit later and joined the family a little bit later, so she didn't really hear the Ducky Daddle stories. But interestingly enough, her 2 children now are hearing the Ducky Daddle stories. So just to let you know how far back Ducky Daddle stories go, these 2 heard Ducky Daddle stories just about almost 30 years ago. And these maybe 18 years ago, 17 or 18 years ago, so it goes back a ways. So now that completes the picture of our grandchildren. Now for today's story about Ducky Daddle. And as you remember the last story about Ducky Daddle, he went to Massachusetts and he visited his cousins and he met another duck who was the then called Lonely Duck, but who became a very good friend of theirs and taught them to water ski, and he became Ducky Daddle's best friend. So Ducky Daddle was very anxious to go back from New York to Massachusetts and see his cousins and see particularly David Duck. They had not been back to Massachusetts for a couple of weeks after they had the fun time with David Duck. So Ducky Daddle said to his mommy, I'd like to go back. Can we go back now pretty soon? She said, sure. So the next morning they got ready to go and they flew over the mountains and flew to Massachusetts, and they landed on the lake in Massachusetts with the cousins. And sure enough, there was David Duck out there, and the cousins were still having fun with David Duck, just like Ducky Daddle had fun with David Duck after they got to know him real well. So they played a little while, and then after a while, David Duck said to Ducky Daddle, would you like to come over to my house for a little bit? And so Ducky Daddle said, sure. So Ducky Daddle and David Duck swam over to David Duck's house, and David's mother met them at the door, and she said, come on in, would you like some milk and cookies? And Ducky Daddle thought that was pretty good, so he went in right away, and they sat down, and she brought out some wonderful cookies and some nice cold refreshing milk. And they were having their milk and cookies and talking, when all of a sudden another duck came into the room, and Ducky Daddle was surprised, and he turned to look at who this duck was, and it was a girl duck. And it happened that she was a very pretty girl duck. And so Ducky Daddle said to David Duck, who's this? And David Duck said, oh, that's my sister. Her name is Dancing Duck. And so she came over and said hi to Ducky Daddle. And they sat down, and she had some cookies and milk with them. And they had a wonderful time talking and getting to know each other. And she was nice, just like David Duck was nice too. And finally, when it was time for Ducky Daddle to go back, because he knew he would have to go with his mom and fly back to New York pretty soon, he said, I think I better go now. And so he turned to David Duck's mother and said, thank you so much for the cookies and the milk, it was delicious. And so he started to get ready to go, and just as he was about to leave, Dancing Duck said, wait a minute. And she said to her mommy, can I ask Ducky Daddle a question? And his mom her mommy said, sure. And so she said, Ducky Daddle, I'm going to be going to a dance at our school pretty soon, and I don't have anybody to go with. Would you go to the dance at our school with me? And Ducky Daddle looked at her, and he was so surprised about that question. And he said, well, I'd like to, but I really don't know how to dance. He decided to just tell her the truth. I don't know how to dance. And so she said, oh, but Dancing Duck's mother quickly said, I could show you the steps very, very soon. It's very easy to learn, just a few steps. And she started showing him some steps. And Ducky Daddle said, oh, I think I could do that. And so Ducky Daddle said, can I go over and ask my mother if I can go to the dance? And she said, sure. So Ducky Daddle swam back over to where his mother was and asked if he could go to the dance. And his mother was really surprised that Ducky Daddle was wanting to go to a dance because he'd never been to a dance before, and to go with a girl duck too. So his mother said, well, sure, but you have to learn how to dance. And Ducky Daddle said, I will. So he swam back and he told Dancing Duck and David Duck's mom, I can go, I can go. And they were so happy. Dancing Duck was very happy. And so he said, I'm going to practice and practice. So Dancing Duck's mom said, okay. And she told him what day to come back. It was a week away, so he had a week to practice. So he went back over to his mom, and they flew back all the way over to New York and his own lake. And when they got there, Ducky Daddle started right away practicing, and he practiced the steps, and his mom helped him too. And he practiced and practiced, and every day he'd get up and he'd practice his dance steps. And so he was getting very good, and his mom was proud of him. And then the day came that Ducky Daddle was supposed to go back over. And I have a picture here, because he was thinking about the fact that he was going back over to see Dancing Duck. Here's a picture that I think that it really looks like Dancing Duck. She looks very happy too, looks very excited. And when you get a chance, maybe you could color a picture like that. Anyway, Ducky Daddle and his mommy packed up to go back over for the dance, and took a few nice things that Ducky Daddle was going to be wearing, and they flew back over to the cousin's house. And when they got there, Ducky Daddle tried on some things that he was going to wear to the dance, and his cousins actually gave him a flower to give as a present to Dancing Duck, so he would have something for her. And here's one of the things Ducky Daddle was wearing. Look what he was wearing. He had a bow tie on, and it was a very good looking bow tie. And as a matter of fact, when you get this as a coloring page, you could make that almost any color you want. It could be red, or it could be blue, or it could be a combination of colors, whatever you'd like. But Ducky Daddle looked very good in his bow tie, and he got all dressed and was ready for the dance. So he went over then when it was time, and he took the flower that his cousins gave him to give to Dancing Duck, and he knocked on the door, and Dancing Duck came right to the door, and he said, hi, and he gave her the flower, and she was very pleased. And Dancing Duck, she was dressed for the party too, and wait till you see what she looked like. Look at this. Dancing Duck was all dressed up and ready to go to the party for the dance. And you can color this when you get a chance and make it all kinds of nice colors. So anyway, they went to the dance, and they had a wonderful time. There were a lot of other ducks at that school dance, and they got out on the dance floor and they danced every single dance, and they had a wonderful time. And they had some good refreshments at the dance too. So Ducky Daddle had a wonderful time, and Dancing Duck had a nice time too. And when it was all through, they went back to Dancing Duck's house, and her mom came to the door as they came in, and Ducky Daddle said, we had a nice time, and Dancing Duck said, we had a great time, I loved it. And they were so happy, and Ducky Daddle said, thank you for inviting me. And so he said, I'll see you again soon. And Dancing Duck said, I hope so. I want to see you again soon too. So Ducky Daddle flew home then with his mom. They went back all the way over to New York. But as they were going, they were talking. And Ducky Daddle said, isn't it strange and nice that when we first met David Duck, he was called Lonely Duck, and you told me I should go play with him, and I did, and we found out what fun he was to play with. He was great. We learned how to water ski, and then we found out that he had a sister who was very pretty, who wanted me to go to a dance, and so we did that. And so it's been a very great experience, and I am so happy that you sent me back over to play with him. And Ducky Daddle's mommy smiled, and she said to herself, you know, one thing we should always remember is that nice things happen when we're nice to other people. That's the end of the story.
Ducky Daddle learned that when you're nice to others, often nice things happen back to you. Thank you so much, Grandpa Bob. I can't wait to hear another Ducky Daddle story. I just love those. I know you do too, boys and girls. And below the video, there are links to the coloring pages that Grandpa Bob talked about, and we would both love it if you would send a picture of what you drew to us at my email address at bowen@mcls.ms. Bye-bye.